Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Painful Pages. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to be doing my first book haul video of the channel, which will honestly potentially be the biggest book haul video that I will ever do on the channel. So one of the things I've noticed is that making this channel, making these videos has increased my motivation to keep reading, which is great. That's what I wanted it to do. But it has also made me realize that I'm going to need more books. My TBR for the month of January had 4 books in. I've already read them all. I'm well into my 5th currently as well. A lot of the books that I've got at the moment are sort of not really appealing to me currently. I sort of bought a lot of them on a whim, so I realized I need to go out and I need to get some. But I had a bit of Christmas money. It's my birthday next week, so I thought, why not treat myself? So today I have 11 books to go through with you, some of which will be part of a series that I can now start reading. I was missing the first one, most crucially, so I can now start reading that, as well as some other books from authors that I have now read and did enjoy, so I wanted to get some more from. So yeah, let's dive into it. I'll try to keep this quite concise and I won't spend too long on each book. 11 books could take quite a while if I do sort of yap and waffle on, and I don't want to keep you all here for too long. So the first sort of pile that I've got here is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I'm not sure if that needs any introduction, but just in case you weren't sure. So I was actually missing the first one of the series, The Gunslinger. I'd already picked up volume 2 and 3 in a secondhand bookshop quite a while ago, so that when I saw the first one, I could get it and then I'd have a few to sort of start with. But I did find the first volume as well as volumes 4 through 5 through 6 as well. So I believe I'm only missing the last one, the 7th one, which I believe is called The Dark Tower. I've actually never read any Stephen King. I only started reading horror just over a year ago, after not reading any books at all for about a decade. So I decided that I wanted to hold off on reading any Stephen King for a while. I didn't want to sort of fall into that trap of reading a couple and then being sort of like, oh, I now want to read all of his and just exclusively reading his books. So I decided that I was going to sort of broaden my horizons a bit first, read as many sort of different authors as I can, and then once I sort of read sort of between 30 and 40 different books, then start to get to Stephen King's books, because I know what a rabbit hole that is to potentially fall down to. I'm at that point now, happy to start reading them. I've got a couple of other of his books that I've got in my collection that I found in secondhand bookshops that I can read as well. The reason I want to start with the Dark Tower series is because I sort of want a series to get into, like a long series. I know that it's got a sort of bit fantasy elements in it as well, which I think I'll enjoy. My mother is a huge Stephen King fan. She's got every single one of his books as long as I can remember since I was a young child. When one of his books comes out, she gets it the day of release and reads it pretty much straight away. And when I was a child, the Dark Tower series just was the ones that stood out to me as a young boy. It sounds cool. The covers look cool. So I thought this is the one that I'm going to start with, and then depends on how things go, I'll then move on to some of his other books, maybe when I'm done with the series or maybe when I'm halfway through. I'll see how I go with that. But I'm really looking forward to reading it. Heard a lot of good things about it. Obviously, I've seen multiple Stephen King films, so I know a lot of his stories already through that medium. But yeah, really looking forward to getting started with this, and we'll obviously update everyone as how I get on with it as I go through my monthly what I've read videos. So we'll move on to the second pile of books that I've got here. One thing I should have said at the beginning of the video is that I do like to go into books or any media knowing pretty much as little as possible. I absolutely detest getting spoilers on things. I try not to take other people's opinions too much in consideration with things. Obviously, if it's one end of the sort of scale, one extreme or the other, I mean, if it's everyone says it's incredible, and that's kind of handy to know. If everyone says this is absolutely horrendous, stay away from it. That's handy to know as well. But I try to take every sort of opinion with a grain of salt, because I tend to just enjoy most things that I read, watch, play. So I try not to form any judgments beforehand. Anyway, moving on. So the next book I've got is a horror and literary classic, and that is Dracula by Bram Stoker. Obviously, a lot of the similar to the Frankenstein story when I spoke about that with the Junji Ito version. I've never read Dracula, but it's been adapted so many times, you can't help but know the gist of what it is. I also know that this is in the form of sort of journal entries and letters, which will be really interesting to read. But yeah, not really much else needs to be said. Really looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting through some of these classics this year, like this, Frankenstein, other things like that. And then I've got a few books here from Clive Barker. Now, in my books that I read in December video, I highlighted how much I really enjoyed The Hellbound Heart and the Scarlet Gospels. As soon as I finished with the Scarlet Gospels, I was very much of the idea that I was going to get some more Clive Barker. So I've got Books of Bloods, volumes 1 to 3, which is a collection of 15 short stories. So really looking forward to that. Interested to see how much horror versus fantasy there are in these, because that was really interesting in the Scarlet Gospels, how much more fantasy there was, and actually I preferred that to the Hellbound Heart. So yeah, looking forward to them for sure. And then another Clive Barker I've got is Weave World here, which I do believe is also very much more in the fantasy sort of lean in of his stories. Um, what is it? It's about a carpet that has some sort of like magical world inside it. I'm sure it's not going to be all magical. I'm sure there's going to be lots of horror in there. Parts of it did sound quite similar to some of the sort of aspects to the Scarlet Gospels, which again I really enjoyed. So yeah, if this is anything like that, I'm definitely going to enjoy it. So stay tuned to see what I think of that. And then the last Clive Barker one I have is Cabal. Cabal. Not sure how you say that 100%, but yeah, this one sounds really cool as well. The main character seems to be quite a terrible person, sort of well, sounds like a mass murderer, serial killer, things like that, and ends up in this sort of half hell dimension, half hell place, is what I can gather. So yeah, really looking forward to that. This one sounds much more sort of leaning towards the horror, um, which again, I'm absolutely happy with. I've really been impressed with his first two books that I've read, Clive Barker, that is. So yeah, really looking forward to that. And then moving on to the final pile of books that I've got, three books here. We've got one here called Diavola by Jennifer Fawn. This one, admittedly, the cover just stood out to me. Was instantly intrigued by it. Now, in terms of sort of haunted house books, possessed people books, there's only been two that I've read so far. One is The Haunting of Hill House, and the other is The Exorcist, if you don't include Legion with that. But yeah, The Exorcist. So they're kind of my benchmark for those types of stories. And one of the reviews on the back of this quite literally says, "Imagine The Exorcist meets The Haunting of Hill House in a creepy Tuscan villa with lots of atmosphere and a vein of dark humor running throughout." Now, some of these reviews you do have to take with a pinch of salt. Sometimes they're very generic and they all say the same thing. Yet the books they say the same thing about vary drastically in quality. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, well, they're the two sort of benchmark books that I've read of that. So yeah, interested to see how this one goes. The blurb did make it sound more like The Haunting of Hill House, which I I enjoyed both that and The Exorcist, but I really enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House. So yeah, really interested to read that one and see what that's about. And then the next one is called Ink. Sorry, Strange Ink by Gary Kemble. Hopefully you can see that. Yep. So yeah, this one again, cover just caught my eye. I was having a bit of a read of it. So a washed-up journalist wakes up from a hangover with strange symbol tattooed on his neck. The tattoos then seem to grow, more appear, have really sort of violent, grisly images on, and Harry seems to get sort of horrific nightmares off the back of that. Then he goes on some sort of detective adventure with that. But I thought that was really interesting. Again, kind of reminds me a little bit in the Scarlet Gospels of the way the tattoos work in that they're sort of like magical and they put tattoos on themselves that give them powers. This feels different to that, but the idea of the tattoos sort of appearing on his body and portraying horrific images that he can do nothing about and has to walk around every day with that on, I thought was really interesting. There's also a sequel, I believe it's a sequel, or it's in the same universe, called Dark Ink. So yeah, if I enjoy this one, definitely going to get the second one as well. I thought that was interesting. And then the last one is my second Andrew Michael Hurley book called Starve Acre. I have got and read Devil's Day. Now, I didn't really enjoy Devil's Day, being completely honest. I thought it was just too slow, didn't really go anywhere. I know that was probably the intention. It's sort of left up to your interpretation, a lot of it. And you're never really supposed to get answers in that. but yeah, the first half of that book I really enjoyed. I expected it to go in a different direction and wasn't that pleased with the direction it did go in. But I've decided to give Hurley another go with Star of Acre. This one actually sounds a little bit more interesting, sort of in the blurb. So, a couple has unfortunately lost their 5-year-old child who sadly passed away. The mother sort of turns to occultists to try and sort of work through, well, not work through the grief, I guess, is the reason they contacted the occultists. And the husband decides to sort of turn his attention to Starve which is a field opposite them, and is trying to sort of dig up this like ancient oak tree or find the roots or whatever. And he ends up uncovering something much worse. So yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm hoping this is more interesting to me than Devil's Day. I know a lot of people do like Devil's Day and Andrew Michael Hurley, so yeah, looking forward to it. I like that obviously it's based in the UK, sort of up north in those really, really rural, remote areas of the UK. So yeah, really interested in this though. Hoping it's better. If it's not, and if it's similar to Devil's Day, I probably will hold off on reading any more Andrew Michael Hurley for quite a while, being completely honest with you all. But yeah, interested with it, and will obviously let you all know how I get on when eventually I do read it. But if you've read any of these books previously, please do let me know now, down in the comments what you thought of them. Which one should I be excited by? Have you read The Dark Tower by Stephen King, the whole series? What did you think of it? Is there a particular volume of that that you think is kind of the standout one that I should be looking forward to? Things like that. And as always, if you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a like. Obviously helps reach it to other people, especially where the channel is so new and small. Obviously, any sort of interaction, even the views are really appreciated. And if you did enjoy the content, please do remember to subscribe so you can see my future videos and my thoughts on all these books when I eventually get to them. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of the day wherever you are, whatever time it might be. And hopefully, I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.